Hello, good evening, and welcome back. You might not get a white Christmas, but here are some white pills. Have a white pill Christmas. Victory in the war on the woke. Judge's landmark ruling means freedom of speech includes the right to offend. Well, yes, of course, because if the freedom of speech is to mean anything at all, it means the right to say things that other people might not like. And this was actually in the UK, of all places, that there is defence for freedom of speech coming from the judiciary. So 2 judges have ruled that free speech encompasses offensive language. Well, it has to, otherwise it's not free speech. Lord Justice Bean and Mr. Justice Warby, presiding over a case in Court of Appeal. Ruling came in successful appeal decided last week in favour of Kate Scotto. She had been found guilty under the 2003 Communications Act this year. Kate Scotto, the radical feminist, of course, and hey, if it's good enough for the feminist, then I guess I'll have to take it as well. But it is important with these things to take a precedence. So, of course, you'll still have people like Count Dankula, and he's working through the Court of Appeals at the moment, but given this landmark ruling, it should bode well for him as well, which is definitely nice to see. It is unfortunate that it has to come down to one protected group first over another one before it is then allowed to the rest of us peasants, if you will, us pedants, if you wish to go one step further, that the normal folk can now be treated all right because, hey, otherwise it would be damaging to a member of their protected class. And it is obviously discouraging to see that it has to come to this, but at the very least, it has actually come to this. So changes should be made because of this. So judges have insisted that freedom of speech includes the right to offend in a landmark ruling which could help to turn the tide on woke intolerance. Presiding over a case in the Court of Appeal, Lord Justice Bean and Mr. Justice Warby said freedom only to speak inoffensively is not worth having. They added that free speech encompasses the right to offend and indeed to abuse another. The judgment from 2 senior members of the judiciary will set a precedent for future cases involving freedom of speech. And I jolly well hope so, because of course their role is not to write the law, but it is instead to interpret the law. And it comes down to trying to do things in the spirit of the law instead of necessarily to the letter of the law. And that is what the 2003 Malicious Communications Act was all about. That it is about threatening behaviour. It is about things that an irrational person would say should be illegal anyway. It is about incitement to violence. It is essentially the same as the Second Amendment. It is not to try and outlaw so-called hate speech. It is not to try and protect people's sensibilities and prevent them from being offended and enable them to ban anybody that they don't like. And it is good to see that it has actually been interpreted to mean what it was meant to mean. Fantastic. So the ruling has emerged only now because it takes so long, but came in the successful appeal decided last week in favour of mother of 2 Kate Scotto from Hitchin, Hertfordshire, after she had been found guilty under the 2003 Communications Act earlier this year. What did she do? Well, she was arrested in 2018 and taken from her children and into custody. Yes, separated from children. What evil thing did she do? Well, she referred to a trans woman, Stephanie Hayden, as a man, a racist, and a pig in the wig. Miss Hayden, 47, reported the online remarks to police. Yes, we can't be having that. You might have seen her on, I believe it was Good Morning Britain as well. Because in February this year, radical feminist Miss Scotto, 40, was handed a 2-year conditional discharge and ordered to pay £1,000 compensation, with District Judge Margaret Dodds telling her, "Your comments contributed nothing to a debate. We teach children to be kind to each other and not to call each other names in the playground." It's like, yes, we also teach them, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. But I guess that second bit got lost as Margaret Dodds became a judge. But that is vitally important, that you cannot mandate courtesy and politeness from the top down, that people will find a way to talk to each other, and if they have to use coded language in order to prove their point, then they will do. But censorship will always be playing catch up. And because the censors know this, in order to enact the policies that they want, they have to go even more hard line in terms of the action that they take to censor people that they do not agree with. That it then comes down to in criminalizing the political dissidents and having to remove their freedoms and restrict them and make an example of them so that nobody else will speak out. And you will have your faux democracy in place, where you then also remove the options that people actually wish to have. Therefore, the only ones left are the ones that the ruling elite are finding acceptable and will allow to take place. So then, from external appearances, there's a functioning democracy over there, except of course they aren't aware that none of the options provided are ones that are actually wished for. And because the rights of the few are so easily trampled upon, it is important to have people who are forward-thinking and quite possibly constitutions put in place in order to protect the rights of the minority from mob rule, as is trying to be done here. Because if you were to say to somebody, it's like, hey, should people be rude to each other? So, well, obviously not. So, right, cool. But then moving to try and outlaw that, then there's a problem. Or if you say, hey, would you like to hear things that you don't like? So, well, most people would say no. But what they don't like is going to be different. And what they think to be true and think to be false are going to be different from other people. So who on earth is going to decide what can and can't be said? Well, you can't have anybody that's unbiased enough in order to decide that. In which case, it can't be done in the first place. And it's nice that the court actually agrees with this for once. So overturning the decision, Mr. Justice Warby explained that the relevant parts of the Communication Act were not intended by Parliament to criminalise forms of expression, the content of which is no worse than annoying or inconvenient in nature. And very good. Yes. Indeed. Calling somebody a pig in a wig is inconvenient. Calling somebody racist, well. This is two sides of the same coin. If somebody's called racist and they're racist, it's like, cool. This is just annoying and inconvenient. We're not going to do anything, in which case, fair enough. However, if somebody's called racist and then there are repercussions for that, then there have to be repercussions for the false accusations, just like there should be with false sexual assault allegations. Some would say equal and opposite. It's up to you if you wish to take it that far. If it is provably false, then the accuser has to face the same punishment as the accused would have done if the accusation was true. It's up to you if you wish to take it that far. But at the very least, let us maintain the accused person to remain anonymous until it is proven. So Miss Scotto told the Daily Telegraph, it was necessary to enshrine one of the most fundamental rights of every living being in a democratic society, the right of freedom of speech that is now routinely attacked. But Miss Hayden said, this is a kick in the teeth to the entire LGBT community. Well, no, because you can still fight for yourself. But it is, of course, funny when a radical feminist is suggesting that freedom of speech is actually good. Let's hope that she keeps this principle and doesn't just think, well, hey, I should be able to say what I want because what I think is acceptable, but what other people think isn't, as is too often the case. As is the case with Miss Hayden here, of course, that we see. Suggesting that, for whatever reason, Steve has the right to not be offended, which he doesn't. But as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think, well, hey, this isn't final, this is going to get overturned, and this is just to placate the protected groups, and we're going to see another landmark ruling soon, which is going to overturn this, and the governments and the judges aren't really going to care about this, they're still going to keep pushing their agenda. Let's not get too white-pilled. Or do you think, wow, I never thought I'd see the day, but it's actually happened. God save the Queen. Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, until next time, have a good one.